How deep should the recapitulation be to have some value? Every single moment of recapitulation is valuable, no matter how deep or how superficial it may be. The range of your recapitulation experiences may go from a deep, deep state of non-ordinary reality with intense reliving, cathartic flowing of repressed feelings, and so forth, to the almost ordinary remembering of the event. Usually, we have a tendency to think that the events recapitulated in deep states of reliving, left side awareness, have all the value, while the ones recapitulated in more superficial states of awareness lack any value. That conception is wrong. That is what I thought at the beginning of my research about recapitulation, and that misconception created a lot of frustration and a tendency to interrupt the work. We didn't know what to do in those moments when we were trying to recapitulate an event without being able to reach what we thought was the appropriate depth. One extra problem arising from this misconception was the difficulty of having to decide while we were in the box exactly what it is we were doing. Questions such as, what am I doing? Is this recapitulation or just normal remembering? Were often troubling our minds. In the end, this confusion was related to the same problem that took us some years to solve. We were too focused on the left side and trying to do everything from there. When we discovered the secret of the two sides of recapitulation, Tonal and Nawal, everything suddenly became clear. The ordinary memories should be part of the recapitulation process, just as other right side elements are necessary to have an integral process of healing. Now, before finishing the answer to the question about deep recapitulation versus superficial recapitulation, let's see again the table of the elements of recapitulation to make this matter clear. Elements of recapitulation. Left side Nawal, energetic body. The recapitulation box, body memories, breathing techniques, energetic command, rituals, energetic body restoration. Right side, Tonal, normal awareness. List of events, ordinary memories, choosing purposeful acts, decision making, talking about the process, feedback, carrying out purposeful acts. You will notice that there are as many right side elements as left side elements. You could recognize and understand most elements of the 10-step technique that have been explained before in this book. Additionally, there are two elements that have not been explained so far: the role of ordinary memories in the process and talking about the process. Let's focus on the first one. Ordinary memories are part of the right side elements of the recapitulation process, just as body memories are part of the left side elements. Imagine a line. At one end, we have the most superficial ordinary memory. At the other end, we have the deepest non-ordinary reality body memory. When we are recapitulating, we are always at some point between the two ends, though it is not possible to say at which point at any given moment we feel what is going on, not knowing where to locate our experience in relation to the two ends. Now, the point is that recapitulation is similar to dreaming, and there is a fine distinction between dream awareness and being awake awareness. As we can see in the diagram, there are many points in between dreaming and being awake, such as the meditation state, also known as alpha, in terms of brain frequency level of this state. When we are dreaming, we are traveling from the most superficial states of being asleep to the deepest ones, which is when dreams take place. Additionally, dreams could be deeper or less deep, depending on the frequency of where we are when we are experiencing them. You can see that while you are sleeping, you go back and forth from very deep states to not so deep states. The same happens with the recapitulation process. Your awareness fluctuates from the deep recapitulation states to near to ordinary memory states, which is completely normal. See figure 16. But what should you do when you are recapitulating in a near to ordinary memory state? Well, you will do just the same as when you are experiencing deep recapitulation. The warrior's rule is to use whatever is at hand to accomplish your task. This means you are going to apply the 10 steps technique for all the events, no matter what state you may be. Do not worry. Go as deep as you can, and then, without being anxious about how deep you are, follow the procedure of the 10 steps technique. Of course, it is helpful when you can work at a very deep level, but you cannot stay at this level all the time. Fluctuations from the left side to the right side, and vice versa, are part of recapitulation, in the same way that fluctuations are part of dreaming. And this is why ordinary memories are included as one of the right side elements of the recapitulation process. In summary, there is no reason to reject these memories. Instead, use them as a part of your recapitulation. Talking about recapitulation. The only remaining element of the recapitulation process that has not been explained so far is talking about the process, or feedback. Should we talk with other people about the process? Most of the time, the answer is simply no. The reason for this is that by talking to others, you would be calling their attention, thoughts, and opinions into part of the process, and most of the time, that would interfere with your task. On the one hand, it is not easy to make others understand why you are involved in such a weird thing as spending your time in a box. On the other hand, what you are looking for is very elusive and difficult to understand, even for you. There are a few exceptions when it is appropriate to talk with others about your recapitulation. One such instance is when you talk with people you are recapitulating about. You can do that if you feel it helps you to gain a deeper connection, and only if you are sure that talking to them will not create an emotional problem for you. You should not, however, explain what you are doing to them or reveal that you are recapitulating them, but simply talk in a casual way. It should remain low-key. Exception number 2 is when you have the chance to share the recapitulation process with other people who would be properly your companions in battle. This happens when 2 or more people decide to recapitulate together. In this case, they may have short periods of feedback where they share with each other what is going on with their experience. This kind of sharing is helpful in reinforcing the focus on the task and putting any stuck energy in motion. Am I allowed to sleep during recapitulation? A very direct answer is required for this question. You are not allowed to sleep during recapitulation if you do it on purpose. But if you fall asleep involuntarily while recapitulating, sleeping is okay. During the process of recapitulation, your state of awareness may change a great deal, which means that you pass through very different modes of perception when you cannot say if you are dreaming, half awake, or awake. Your reality changes, and you should not try to determine exactly whether you are asleep, awake, or something in between. You should just go ahead with the process, no matter what state you are passing through. Actually, some of the most significant moments of recapitulation take place in the dreaming state, which means you are asleep but are continuing with the recapitulation process. The point is that you keep acting with the aim of recapitulating. However, when you say, "Well, it's late, I'm going to sleep," you are breaking the continuity of the work. Do not do this. What happens if you remember more important events after finishing the list? That is a very common situation. People remember more events as they keep working with recapitulation. Sometimes it happens while you are in the box. Sometimes it happens when you are doing something else. Incorporating these events into your work process is certainly helpful, especially when the events that come to your attention have been an important influence on your life. In the case of these events coming to you while you are recapitulating something else, first follow my recommendations for dealing with distracting thoughts or digressions. If the event is a real pending issue, you should choose between working with that event at that moment or leaving it for later. If you feel the event is important and it arrives by itself, then take a chance and follow it right away. Sometimes an urgent event shows up unexpectedly. Trust your feeling and proceed to recapitulate it in the heat of the moment. What about recapitulating with other people? It is wonderful if you can have companions on the journey. Obviously, each one of them would be making his own trip, but you all would have the privilege of sharing with other travelers at some point on the road. The procedure is nearly the same as has been described for one person. The main difference is that there is going to be more energy in motion. This is good for those who are traveling in the rear part of the train, because they may be pulled by the ones going ahead. There's no specific way to do this. It just happens. It is simply the way the energy reacts. The ritual of preparation exercises will be done together. Actually, you may do almost everything together, except the work with the list and the work inside the box. The boxes are located in the same room, near each other. Do not worry about making noise during your work. If your recapitulation becomes intense, it is not going to disturb your companions. On the contrary, your energy in motion is going to make it easier for them to put their own energy in motion. It should be obvious that working with others makes no sense if you get together in any way that will not be respectful. Accept working with others only if they and you are going to share a real commitment for the task. Once you start the challenge, there's no way to go back and withdraw from the battle. What am I doing wrong? I have tried to do the recapitulation by following the steps described here, but I can't keep focused. I can't relive the events, and I don't have a feeling that seems to be recapitulation. This kind of reaction is very common at the beginning of the process. You feel that you can't succeed at all. You feel that the techniques are not working for you. You should be ready for this effect and not give up. Most people feel this way in their first attempts. Even if they follow all the steps, they are left with the impression that they are not able to enter into recapitulation. Actually, the initial process, as I have seen it happen for most people, could be described as follows. 1. You try to recapitulate following the techniques, but you don't do the steps thoroughly, especially for the steps of reliving, intensification, and decision-making. Most people skip the parts that they feel are strange or ridiculous. In this stage, you feel that you are not succeeding in recapitulating. 2. You are urged not to give up, to try again, but this time to follow all the indications thoroughly, no matter how strange they might seem. At this point, you are not skipping any parts of the steps. You notice some difference, but you still feel that the recapitulation doesn't trigger. The feeling of not succeeding in your goal may continue. 3. You are urged to keep trying. All this is normal at the beginning stage. Finally, by practicing more, the recapitulation is triggered. Now you discover how it feels to recapitulate and how strong and powerful this technique is. Congratulations, and keep going until you complete the recapitulation of your life. Based on my experience, I would say that the average amount of time it takes for people to enter into recapitulation is 3 to 4 days into a 15-night recapitulation program. In the 3-day intensive seminar program, the participants learn to recapitulate under our guidance. They follow our instructions step by step, and everybody is recapitulating the same kind of event at the same time. In this program, the latest that most people enter into the recapitulation experience is day 2, during the 3rd segment of recapitulating events. As I said, this is just an average. Obviously, each person's specific case may be different. The main point here is this: don't give up if you find that the first attempts at recapitulating aren't that successful. This is normal. Move ahead. Can I change the 10 steps? Should I always follow the 10 steps exactly as they are described here, or can I be flexible and change them a bit according to the needs of the moment? This is an important question and provides a very appropriate to finish the book. Answer: in the beginning, you should follow the steps exactly as they are described, even those that you might think are exaggerated, ridiculous, or strange. Doing so will help you halt the ego's resistance, and most important, will help you stop the domination of the rational mind. This is the rule for the period of time when your body is learning how to recapitulate. Follow the steps thoroughly. Once the recapitulation process is triggered, you will notice that you are able to pass from one step to the next more smoothly. It takes less time to focus on recapitulation as you use your initial breathing technique. You may even skip the steps of seeing the event and jump directly into reliving it. Decision-making becomes a less verbal action because your body gets used to making the energy movement that is the actual energetic command. With enough practice, the step-by-step procedure becomes a natural process wherein the steps are not separated. The summary or main content of the process is reliving, healing, and reinforcing through the liberated acts. Just that, reliving, healing, and reinforcing the healing. When this process is natural for you, you may finish the recapitulation of your entire life within a few years, months, or weeks, depending on how intensive your personal program is. At this point, recapitulation becomes part of your collection of personal resources. It becomes what it has always been, a natural process of energetic self-healing, at your disposal whenever you need it. My last comment. I have done the best I could to convince you of the value of practicing recapitulation. I have given you all the support that I have been able to imagine for your adventure. My heart is empty because I have let out everything that was inside and wanting to fly in relation to recapitulation technology. The only thing I can do now is wish you a journey full of effort and encounters with your other self and with the Great Spirit. Recapitulation will change your life. Do not dare to engage yourself in such a journey if you are not willing to surrender to the overwhelming mystery of change. If you do start on the journey, may our brilliant fields of energy shine together in the search for our common destiny. Appendix A, Table of Examples. This following table contains examples of events from the past that left energetic damage in the energetic bodies of the people who experienced them, together with examples of the routines that were generated as a consequence, the kind of decision-making that resulted from the recapitulation process, and the liberated actions that were appropriate for the decisions made. The examples are presented here with the hope that they may be useful for you when you are trying to sort out what your energetic promises were, what your decisions might be, and what the corresponding not doings would be. Especially at the beginning, it is not easy to have a clear vision of how to handle these parts of the process. Once you have practiced, it becomes much easier. Please be aware that the following table is not like a cooking recipe. It does not mean that if you have had a similar event, you should necessarily follow the examples of this table in terms of decision-making and not doings. Actually, presenting the events in this fashion is an oversimplification of processes that are much more complex. The table shows one possible way to handle each of the events presented. As with all the contents of this book, the use of your own discernment is always required. Example 1. Event or situation behind the event. Your father didn't give you attention. Energetic command, I will not love you, I hate you. Doing, internal routine. Keep the distance with your father. Pretend you don't love him. Decision making, I accept that I love you without judgment and without asking for a reward. Not doing, approach your father, embrace him, and express affection for him without expecting a reward. Example 2. You were caught stealing a relative's money. Energetic command, I am not trustworthy. Doing, your actions ruin the trust that others have in you. Decision making, I give up the promise of not being trustworthy. I will honor the trust that others put in me. Not doing, be honest, sometimes confessing lies you have said before to give a sacred value to being truthful. Example 3. You were violently rejected when you wanted to express love. Energetic command, I will not show my feelings to others. Doing, never say I love you Show anger to hide your sadness, to pretend you don't need anyone. Decision making. From now on, I will express what I feel to the people I care about. Fear will not stop me. Not doing. Confess your feelings to your relatives, friends, partner, and so on. Grow used to expressing your feelings. Example 4. Your first great love left you for someone else, and you were brokenhearted as a result. That feeling of loss has been with you all your life. Energetic command. I will not trust in women or men anymore. Doing. You are not able to trust deeply, not able to surrender when making love, and not able to give your heart to the person you love. Decision making. I thank you for the love you gave me. I accept that you had to go. I will see every woman or man I meet as a new human being. When the moment comes, I will dare to surrender to the mystery of love and trust. Not doing. Take the risk of love and trust. When you are in love, make love passionately and uninhibitedly with your partner. Example 5. Your father used to beat you. He was violent and cold. You have memories of physical aggression. Energetic command. I hate you. I will be rude to others so they won't notice my weaknesses and hurt me. Doing. You are aggressive with others. You shout and beat your kids. You are like a general with your family. You are given to fighting. Decision making. I forgive you, Father, not because what you did was right, but for my own well-being. I release my rancor against you. From now on, I will love children the way I would have liked to be loved by you. Not doing. Play and be tender with your children. Learn to be a clown for the joy of children in parks, schools, or parties. And charge no fee. Example 6. You are not a physically strong child. You are not good at sports. Other children made fun of you, and your parents didn't help. I'm a loser. Energetic command. I'm a loser. I will not expose myself and allow them to see I am weak. Doing. You are shy and have no confidence in dealing with the opposite sex. You act as if you can't be loved. You are scared of starting new projects. Decision making. I accept myself without comparing myself to others. I am alive, strong, and full of life. I will do what I want, and I'll take the risk of winning or losing. Regardless, I will be happy because fear will not stop me. Not doing. Behave confidently when approaching the opposite sex. Start new activities. Practice sports for joy instead of competition and concern about winning. Example 7. Event. Your parents gave you everything but love. You were wealthy but lonely. Energetic command. If they don't need me, I will not need them. Nobody is important but me. I will not need anyone. Everybody is below me. Doing. You are proud of your money, even if you didn't earn it. You judge others based on material richness. You act and relate to others only from the surface. You pretend you are happy when actually you are miserable. Decision making. I will not continue to judge people by their material success. I will learn to see the heart. I will value people for what they are and not for what they have. I will show my heart and confess my feelings. I will love others the way I would have liked to be loved. Not doing. Dress simply, without ostentation or flaunting of wealth. Make friends with good people who have no money. Perform voluntary social services in poor communities to learn to love without expecting reward. Example 8. Your mother never approved of what you did. There was always something wrong. She was a perfectionist, and you were never able to please her. Energetic command. Whatever I do, it will never be enough. I'm not good enough. Doing. You will always find fault with other people's actions. You are a perfectionist, demanding too much from yourself and from others. You are always unhappy because of your neurotic perfectionism. You try to demonstrate to others how good you are. Decision making. I give up trying to be perfect. I will relax and do what I do for the joy of it. I can make mistakes, and it's all right. I will stop demanding that others do things the way I think is right. I am just a person. I can make mistakes, and it's okay. Not doing? Make mistakes on purpose in front of others and stay relaxed. Practice tolerance and make a nice comment when you see others making mistakes. Do not exaggerate this, and remember to use common sense. Appendix B, Opportunities to Grow Together, the AVP Workshops. AVP is an organization for personal and spiritual growth that was born and is based in Mexico. In AVP, we believe that every person has already within him or herself everything that he or she needs to accomplish the challenge of having a worthy life. We do not believe in masters or gurus. We believe in personal responsibility as the only and indispensable requisite for the task of achieving knowledge and freedom. Because of this, all our workshops, seminars, and written materials are designed in such a way as to avoid dependence. We do not have progressive degrees to ensure future clients. Our instructors are not charismatic leaders who are going to be at the center of everyone's attention as the important element of your learning process. We believe and practice the mnemomastic way, teaching yourself. In that spirit, we invite people who want to share the experience of growth, people who are not looking for perfect masters. What we have to offer is our unbending commitment to our path and the experience of having done this work for a long time. The goals of our work have to do with rescuing our magical side, the other self who is missing in our lives, in order to balance and heal the problems we have as a consequence of trying to rule our lives with only the participation of our rational mind. The freedom of reinventing ourselves, choosing how to be and how to live, is also one of our main aims. We are not looking for the other side of ourselves just for the sake of doing strange things, or because we want to know how this other side feels. We need to rescue our other self for a very simple and pragmatic reason. We cannot have a balanced and healthy life without the participation of our full awareness. Trying to live by taking care of only the tonal is like trying to work with one leg when we have two. Our workshops, seminars, and self-learning programs are very practice-oriented and are not directed toward intellectual discussions. In these programs, you do not need to believe. You just need to do. And only actual experience will give you the knowledge that can change your life for the better. You can register for and participate in workshops in any order once you have completed the Jump to the Other Self workshop, which is the basic experience to help you understand the kind of work we do in AVP. It is the one prerequisite for all other AVP workshops and seminars. The Jump to the Other Self is a workshop whose theme is our nature as dual beings. Instead of just talking about our duality or about the other self, we introduce practical exercises to allow the participants to experience the other self by themselves. This high-impact experience reveals that part of ourselves that we are missing in the modern world. In relation to recapitulation, we offer the intensive workshop of recapitulation, which currently lasts 15 days and takes place only in Mexico. We also offer in several countries the 3-day seminar of recapitulation. The main difference between these two is that while the intensive seminar deals with doing recapitulation for your entire life, the 3-day seminar deals with learning and practicing the recapitulation techniques, so that, in addition to recapitulation, during the seminar of some of the most decisive moments of your life, you can continue with recapitulation on your own. This seminar provides a push into the recapitulation experience, because the role of the workshop leader is to help the participants reach beyond their own unconscious resistance, allowing them to truly cross the line between trying to recapitulate and entering real recapitulation. AVP workshops cover a vast range of themes and goals, including programs for self-training. If you would like more information, please contact us at www.toltecas.com, TOLTECAS.com. Our mailing address, AVP, AP12-762, CP03001, Distrito Federal, Mexico. Email, avp@toltecas.com. About the sources of this work. This book has been written to support the work of all those looking for avenues to their own freedom, beyond the dictates of ordinary life in our modern societies. The theme of this book is recapitulation, an ancient process of self-healing through restoring our field of energy from the damage we received in our past. The origin of this technique dates to the time of the ancient Toltecs, but this practice is presented here in its modern form, as created and developed by me and collaborators of AVP Mexico throughout 13 years of practice and research. Although some of Carlos Castaneda's works have together been one influential source for this work, it should be made clear that this is an entirely independent work, created and developed by me and all those involved with AVP workshops around the world. While many valuable aspects of the books of Castaneda have been an inspiration for a significant part of my work, it is also true that there are many differences between his work and mine in terms of goals and procedures. Any careful reader of our respective books will easily discern this. Regarding the specific subject of this book, Recapitulation, the influence of the work, The Eagle's Gift, by Carlos Castaneda, can be found in the design of part of the AVP 10 Steps technique for recapitulation, as well as in the use of some of the terms, concepts, and expressions. On the other hand, the research, design, goals, procedures, and practical experience from which this work was created are mine. As I have always made clear in my books, workshops, and seminars, Carlos Castaneda has never been involved with my work, other than as a source of inspiration for parts of my research. My encounters with him in person took place when I was part of the audiences of his semi-private presentations in Mexico City more than 15 years ago. He has not been my teacher or my role model in any way. On the contrary, while there are many proposals in Castaneda's work that I found valuable in my quest, it is also true that there are others that I consider obstacles to a sane quest for personal growth and freedom. As with the work of any author, it is important to apply personal criteria and common sense. The fundamental influence and guide for my work, including this book, is the Toltec tradition that has been kept alive in the mountains of northern Mexico by the surviving Toltecs with whom I have been related and about whom I have written in my previous books. Whether or not we agree with many of the ideas, doings, or purposes, implicit or explicit, in Castaneda's works and personal behavior, it is clear that his books have affected many of his readers, including me, in positive ways. In my case, his earlier books inspired me to search for new practices, such as recapitulation, and gave me a push to continue with old challenges, such as diving into indigenous knowledge. His works also provided us with a new language to deal with the quest of our hidden self, second attention, stopping the internal dialogue, self-importance, and many other terms are going to remain attached to his name for a long, long time. I feel it is important that we do not forget that his work was not solely his creation. Even if it is true that he invented Don Juan as a character, as more and more people are accepting nowadays, he was nourished by the ancient quest of our indigenous grandparents, the Toltecs, the Maya, and their predecessors. the Teotihuacans and Olmecs. They were the ones who discovered for the world the dual nature of human beings and the dual nature of reality. They were the ones who coined words such as tonal for the normal awareness and the ordinary reality, and nawal, the secret side of both human beings and the world that surrounds us. For this reason, I want to honor and show gratitude for the genius of the man who was able to attract the attention of millions of readers to the quest for the dual nature of human beings and reality. But even more, I want to honor and thank those indigenous peoples of the past and the present who were and are the inspiration for the quest of Castaneda and for the quest of those millions of women and men enamored of mystery and freedom. Finally, whatever work we do that helps us move closer to our true nature allows us to be closer to the Great Spirit that gives life to and connects all the existing beings in the universe. The work does not belong to anyone, but instead to the Spirit itself, because everything comes from and goes back to that sacred source. Footnotes. Introduction. 1. The Aztec symbol may be seen in the shield of the Mexican flag, an eagle devouring a serpent over a red fruit cactus. The height of the Aztec civilization represented just 200 years of history in Mexico. From 1325, when the Aztecs founded their capital, Tenochtitlan, now Mexico City, to 1521, when the Spanish began the destruction of their world. 2. Find a short explanation of the AVP organization in Chapter 1, page 17. For a more thorough explanation of the workshops, see Appendix B. 3. Fray Alonso de Molina, Vocabulario en Lengua Castellana y Mexicana, edición facimilar, Madrid, 1944. 4. The influence of part of the ideas of Carlos Castaneda requires a separate comment, which you can find at the end of this work, in about the sources of this book. 1. Preliminaries and first approach to recapitulation. 1. Victor Sanchez, The Teachings of Don Carlos. 2. Carlos Castaneda, The Eagle's Gift. 3. See Toltecs of the New Millennium by Victor Sanchez. 4. Nimomashtik is a Nahuatl word that means teaching yourself. Nahuatl was the language spoken by the Toltecs. It is still spoken today by many indigenous peoples of Mexico. 5. El arte de vivir a propósito. 2. What is recapitulation? 1. See Toltecs of the New Millennium by Victor Sanchez. 2. For a detailed explanation of the not doings as used by the author, see Teachings of Don Carlos by Victor Sanchez. 3. Carlos Castaneda, The Second Ring of Power. 4. The Eagle's Gift. 5. Taisha Abular, The Sorcerer's Crossing. 6. I Bid. 7. Carlos Castaneda, Tales of Power. 4. How the process of recapitulation works. 1. It is important to notice that when I say it is the justification of our ego, instead of saying it is the justification of what we are, it is because I want to make a distinction between what we think we are, I call it ego, and what we really are, fields of energy. Opening to that deeper vision of ourselves as luminous beings instead of living under the fantasy of being me or I is one of the most hard-won and greatest victories we may have on our way to being what we really are. 2. See Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. 3. For a more detailed explanation of the ego as merely a description, see the Teachings of Don Carlos. Chapter 5. The Not Doings of the Personal Self. 4. Poderío is a Spanish word that is not common in the ordinary language. I have taken this word from the Wirarica, indigenous people who keep alive the tradition of the ancient Toltecs. It means something similar to power, but it is not quite the same, because the Spanish translation of power is poder. Poderío means something closer to special power. something like an entity or force that belongs to a specific place in the universe. There are poderios belonging to their sacred places in the desert or the mountains. There are poderios belonging to many places in nature, such as rivers, lakes, springs, and ravines. Then there are the 5 big poderios that rule the realm in which we live. Grandfather Fire, who is the oldest, the Earth, who is our mother, the Sun, who is our father, and son of the fire, the Wind, who is our brother, and also the messenger who communicates among all the poderios, and the Water, who is also our mother. 5 Nenevieri is the offering to the fire, consistent with talking in an intimate way to the fire, with the words coming from the heart. 5 Who should do recapitulation. The name has been changed to protect the identity of the actual person. 6 AVP 10 steps technique for recapitulation. 1 Victor Sanchez, The Teachings of Don Carlos. 2 For more detailed info on this matter, see The Teachings of Don Carlos. 7 Step 1 The list. 1. Certainly this comment could lead to this question. How do we tell the difference between a clear experience of interaction with non-human fields of energy and an experience that is useless? I have to deal with this question often in my workshops, because during the night we do a number of activities outdoors that deal with mystery. At these times, someone always comes to me to ask something similar to the following. I guess I saw a strange shadow in the bushes. It was like a human shape, with dark spots on his face, and it was sort of blinking, as if it was making a gesture to me. What was that? I have no idea. You were the one who saw it. You tell me. I don't know. I just want to know what its meaning is. I don't know. I suppose the meaning is that you think you saw a shadow among the bushes in the shape of a man with dark spots on his face, and he blinked at you. But what should I do? I don't know. What do you want to do? Nothing. I just wondered whether or not the shadow was a special sign or omen for me. Well, it had no meaning that you can clearly feel in your heart. If it had, you would not need to ask me about it. So I would say that it is not an omen for you. Or maybe it's a useless omen, in which case the best thing we can do is forget it, so that our attention is not distracted from the moment when a real omen might arrive. I know this kind of answer can be disappointing. Why? Because some people are desperate to see the strange things they have read about in books. They have a secret fantasy that seeing such strange things indicates that they are special. What we have in these situations are cases of the popular game of self-importance, of trying to be somebody, which is one of the basic compulsions of the ego. 11. Additional procedures. 1. I prefer to use breathing techniques 1 and 2 instead of summarizing them in the sweeping breath, because I have found the handling of energy more precise when the moment of recovering and the moment of release are separated. It is also true, however, that from a practical point of view, this summary breathing is a useful tool. About the author. This general geographical name of the location of the Wirarica community is used here to preserve the secrecy of their location in an effort to avoid promoting the increasing flow of non-indigenous people into their remote communities, which, in the view of their elders and shamans, may well endanger the survival of their way of life. About the author. After the wonder of his first encounters with indigenous peoples, Victor Sanchez set out to study academic anthropology. From there, he returned to the indigenous world and discovered anti-anthropology, an attitude of investigation that places emphasis on the human experience in the encounters with otherness, rather than on intellectual reports that reduce reality to the narrow limits of a theoretical framework. From his 20 years of experience in different fields, he has produced a form of personal growth called the art of living purposefully, or the new Toltequity. From his adventures in the natural world, crossing deserts, jungles, and mountains, and exploring communication with whales and dolphins, he sees the encounter with nature as the ideal space within which to re-encounter our natural self and find the answers to our fundamental questions. In his work, this encounter is not an intellectual approximation or an ecology of the mind. It is participation of the body and an ecology that comes from the heart, which is expressed through a way of living. From his experience with indigenous groups in Mexico, survivors who keep alive the spiritual traditions of the ancient Toltecs, he brings us a message. We are children of the sun. Our nature is to shine. And as double beings, we must reincorporate into our daily lives the awareness of the other self that lies hidden inside us, waiting to be resurrected in order to show us the Toltec we all unknowingly carry within. The proposals of Victor Sanchez are not mere affirmations whose existence terminates with the pages of a book or in the realm of thoughts. Rather, they are an open invitation to the practices that can incorporate these ideas as a living substance into our daily experience. The workshops and seminars he has given through the years express clearly that his message is not directed toward the sphere of thinking. Instead, it points to the realm of experiences. Above all, his work is an invitation for us to get away from thinking and talking about knowledge, and instead to begin to live knowledge in our body and heart, within the context of our everyday life and people. It is an invitation to take our own responsibility rather than to wait for someone else to take it for us. And this is because what we are searching for is inside us. The only prerequisite is to recover the essential experience of listening to ourselves, penetrating that inner space where the spirit dwells, the place from which it speaks to us without words, through what the author calls silent knowledge. In the teachings of Don Carlos, the author relates the testimony of his experience with developing and applying a practical methodology inspired by the books of Carlos Castaneda, a process that was enabled by his experience among the indigenous peoples of the Toltec lineage. In Toltecs of the New Millennium, Sanchez narrates his experience among the Toltec survivors. From an anti-anthropological perspective, he opens the door to that parallel universe where the Wirarika dwell, thus applying a living testimony to indigenous knowledge. Now, with the Toltec path of recapitulation, the author shares a powerful technique that is the shamanic alternative to therapies such as psychoanalysis and other Western models that look for the relief of traumas of the past through working with the mind. Currently, Victor Sanchez continues his experiences among the surviving Toltecs. He has accomplished the commitment he made to the elders and the Maracames of the Sierra Wirarica on November 15, 1993, to submit a written register of a portion of the Wirarica spiritual tradition in a book directed not toward the general public, but to these indigenous communities, thus rectifying the existing practice among anthropologists and writers of neglecting to return the fruits of their labors to the communities in which their investigations are carried out. The objective in gathering a written testimony of the tradition has been to contribute to their preservation and to provide the new generations of Wirarica, who are in the process of learning to read, with books that relate to and speak of their own traditions, rather than only those of the Tiwaris, non-indigenous peoples. By the end of 1999, Sanchez officially delivered 200 copies of the book, Recapitulación de Elementos de la Tradición Wirarica, which has not been published anywhere else, to the indigenous authorities in the Wirarica region, where he has been working all these years. Aside from his spending time in the indigenous world, Victor Sanchez writes books and offers conferences, workshops, and seminars around the world. Starting in 2000, he and his team began pursuing a new stage of experience, introducing their work to the corporate world. In preparation for the increasing strength of corporations around the globe, and thus a greater imperative for their representatives to be given the opportunity for increased awareness. To further this, the author is working with corporate leaders who are interested in promoting self-realization among their employees, contributing to the peaceful coexistence of people, and increasing global awareness. In all arenas, Victor Sanchez is working to create a bridge that allows people to nourish themselves with the magic that is preserved among indigenous communities of Toltec descent. A magic that holds the most priceless and powerful treasures ever generated by human experience on this earth, the knowledge of otherness. About Inner Traditions, Bear & Company. Founded in 1975, Inner Traditions is a leading publisher of books on indigenous cultures, perennial philosophy, visionary art, spiritual traditions of the East and West, sexuality, holistic health and healing, self-development, as well as recordings of ethnic music and accompaniments for meditation. In July 2000, Bear & Company joined with Inner Traditions and moved from Santa Fe, New Mexico, where it was founded in 1980, to Rochester, Vermont. Together, Inner Traditions, Bear & Company have 11 imprints: Inner Traditions, Bear & Company, Healing Arts Press, Destiny Books, Park Street Press, Bindu Books, Bear Cub Books, Destiny Recordings, Destiny Audio Editions, Inner Traditions in Espanol, and Inner Traditions India. For more info or to browse through our more than 1,000 titles in print, visit www.innertraditions.com. Books of related interests: The Teachings of Don Carlos, Practical Applications of the Work of Castaneda by Victor Sanchez, Toltecs of the New Millennium by Victor Sanchez, The Toltec Oracle by Victor Sanchez, On the Toltec Path, A Practical Guide to the Teachings of Don Juan Matus, Carlos Castaneda and Other Toltec Seers by Ken Eagle Feather, Toltec Dreaming, Don Juan's Teachings on the Energy Body by Ken Eagle Feather, Don Juan and the Power of Medicine Dreaming, A Nahual Woman's Journey of Healing by Marilyn Tuneshendi, Don Juan and the Art of Sexual Energy, The Rainbow Serpent of the Toltecs by Marilyn Tuneshendi, Mastery of Awareness, Living the Agreements by Doña Bernadette Vigil with Arlene Broska, Ph.D., Inner Traditions, Bear & Company, P.O. Box 388, Rochester, Vermont 05767, 1-800-246-8648, www.innertraditions.com, or contact your local bookseller. Bear & Company, 1 Park Street, Rochester, Vermont 05767. The end.